Hey, what's going on, good people? So I've had the opportunity to watch a variety of films in my lifetime, and I'm going to talk about action films in this particular video. So you'd have the typical scenario where you have the villain and the good guy. Villain, you have Medusa, where she's fighting for her own selfish gain. She's fighting for her own evil agenda. She's got selfish motive. On the other hand, you have Thor with the long hair. And then he's fighting for the greater good. He's fighting for the people, and it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. He's got long hair. Anyway, so you've got those two scenarios, and then every so often you have a scene where one person has a competitive advantage over the other person. And what do I mean by that? I mean that they're either hiding, they've either camouflaged, they have a plant like this where they're hiding, or they're on top of a building, they're the sniper like Bob Lee, or, whatever the case, their opponent can't be able to see them. So that means they can go pew, pew, pew without being seen, and their opponent can't immediately tell where the threat is coming from, which makes things very intense and very interesting. And that just kind of got me thinking about our own personal lives where we're fighting and we're struggling with some things that we can't immediately label. Maybe some things that we've picked up due to mental conditioning. We've picked up some old patterns that are not particularly helpful or healthy to ourselves. Maybe some defense mechanism that we picked up to be able to survive. And some of those things tend to work against us. And because sometimes we know that we're struggling and we've seen the side effects of those things, but because we can't label them, we can't immediately identify them, it becomes even trickier to fight against them. So in this video, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I found helpful for myself to identify some of those things that we might be fighting against. So I'll just draw attention to a letter written by this guy called Paul in the Bible, in the book of Ephesians. So he talks about putting on the full armor of God. So he talks about putting on the helmet, putting on the breastplate, putting on, just getting kitted up, boy, to, ready to fight and stuff like that. So to make sure that you're good and you come out not all scraped up, or even yet you don't die. Okay. So, yeah, so he talks about putting on the full armor of God. And then so he talks about that we don't fight against flesh and blood, i.e. we don't fight against things that we can see. As you all know, most of the battles that we face are like battles in the mind. They're based on, how we think about ourselves, how we think about different situations. And that really determines how we respond, really, in a nutshell. And so he also goes ahead and talks about putting on the full armor of God. So then after you've done everything, you can be able to stand. So what does after you've been able to done, after you've done everything. So after you've done everything, after you've been the person that you're supposed to be, after you fulfilled your purpose, after you have lived a fulfilled life, if you're aiming to become a certain type of person, or you've got after you've started that business, after you've launched that podcast, after you've gotten that job, after you've gotten your kids, after you've been a good sister, after you've been a good daughter. So basically, after you've done everything, that you may be able to stand. So what Paul was implying, he was saying that, do you know what? I think you're going to need the full armor to be able to fight the things that are going to come against you when you're trying to do all these things. And so during and after you've done all these things, that you may be able to stand, so then you will need the full armor of God. And so some of the things that I've kind of employed in my own life to be able to identify who the enemy or what the enemy is having like a good support system. Having a good support system where people are, you have people in your life that are calling you to higher. So if you're not acting right, they can be able to say, hey, fix up. Or even over the last few months, I've really engaged in therapy. And so therapy has really raised my level of self-awareness, and it's really brought to the surface some of the things that I was struggling with that I couldn't put language to. And so since I've been able to put language to those things, so then I can be able to proactively really attack those things and be able to work on them. And so to be able to come out on the other end and say, okay, and even be able to track it and say, okay, cool. So today I got faced with ABCD and I did ABCD, or today I got faced with, you know, such and such and I didn't do very well. I didn't respond very well, or like, you know, so if you're able to identify these things, you can be able to track them. You can be able to work on them in a really proactive manner. And so hence the title of this video, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? How you gonna win if you ain't right within? So so to be able to win, we need to be able to identify those things that are within us, either our mindset or just within our minds, or, you know, unbeneficial patterns or unbeneficial mental conditioning that are really stopping us from being the best versions of ourselves and showing up as the best versions of ourselves, so that we can be able to win in this life, in this COVID life, in this quarantine life, in this life in general, in 2020. So yeah, so those are some of the things I wanted to share with y'all. I hope it was beneficial, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video on how to fight. Take care.